right, we have a very fun interview for you today. I am flying solo. Andrew had some personal matters to attend to, but I'm very excited to bring you this guest, so let's get this thing rolling.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
All right, I am here with a relatively new Master Mason, Brother Lee Monyelle from West Allis Lodge. Thanks for coming on, Lee.
Thank you for having me, Brother Matt.
Oh, of course. We were super happy to be able to assist in your raising, which was just a great night.
Oh, and not too long ago, that was just back in November, and in fact, in this room.
Right. Yeah, we are recording in the lodge room, a little different for us, but we needed to leave the conference room open for some other people. So we'll see how the audio quality works in here, actually. I was kind of worried about a big room being all echoey.
Right.
But it's coming through pretty clear on the mic, so this might have to be our new recording spot.
Who knows? Maybe this will be it.
It's a little less dungeony in here. But so how was your journey? Let's start here. What brought you to Freemasonry?
Okay, so I would like to say it's divinely inspired. I'm 45 now. When I turned 42, I had this crazy drive and hunger to just consume knowledge,
Okay.
and specifically on like spiritual matters and that. And before that, I will say I was probably spent 2 decades in various 12-step fellowships.
Okay.
And pretty big. I met my wife there. It was a big part of my life. Anyway, something never clicked there, and I know this isn't about God and religion, but that was something that I always struggled with. I would almost consider myself atheistic at that point.
Okay.
So I turned 42. All of a sudden, I got this wild hair up my ass to just start looking at everything, and I looked at everything, every belief system, and I was really getting revved up about where these overlaps of information were. And lo and behold, one day, I comes across my Facebook feed about, are you interested in Masonry? And I can only attribute that to, I'm really interested in Kabbalah and things like that. Or I don't know. Who the hell knows what happened.
Right.
And I'm going to do my best not to swear. But from there, I was like, you know what? I'm on this particular path and journey. My life has never been better. And I've always been someone who struggled with self-esteem and a lot of self-medication. And I was diagnosed with major depression and social disorder when I was like 12.
Okay.
So like, even something like this is historically, I'd be like just petrified.
Right.
And so anyway, during the application, I was like, well, whatever. It's in my way. It's in my path. I don't believe anything happens haphazardly now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of my view of things. Like, there's a reason behind everything. And then, like, I don't know. I think it was in December. And then the following February, this was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call from Brother Josh Bartz.
Okay.
Asking if I would be interested or where I was at with all that, and had some preliminary conversation. Super jacked. Felt like a 2-year-old on Christmas Day. It was phenomenal. I come running upstairs. My wife and I, we just came back from Chicago for our anniversary.
Okay.
And I go up her. I tell her the good news. She goes, "What the is that?" And is that some misogynistic woman-hating club? Like, instantly deflated. I'm like, oh. Because he had told me that Masonry is not meant to be divisive, and basically if you're married, we have to get the blessing of your wife.
Right.
And I was like, shit.
Well, and not to interrupt, but yes, your significant other being a supporting factor to your journey through Freemasonry is very critical.
And I understand that massively now, even though I'm very early in my journey. And then there was like nothing. I didn't hear anything until probably August.
Okay.
And part of that was I had heard that there was some restructuring going on, and then the lodges go dark and during the summer months for the most part.
Some lodges do.
Some lodges do. Yep. And then I got a call from Eric at West Allis 291, and I came in. I met them guys at Natty Oaks.
Yeah.
That was like my first introduction, and I was nervous as hell. I was just so nervous, and I got to say this. Like I said, I was been part of other groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be the first group of men that I've been involved with where it's absolutely what you see is what you get. If somebody tells you I'm here or I'm interested or like whatever, like I'm here for you, like it's authentic, it's genuine, you can feel it. Like
Right.
and you can see it. You can see it demonstrated.
Right.
And that was absolutely something like when you guys helped with my MM degree. Like there's countless other things too of just like where this isn't lip service.
Right.
And that was something that I got a little jaded because I remember talking with Jonas because he was my mentor through all this and I kept bringing up like comparisons. And he'd almost say things to me like, it almost looks like you're looking for problems in Masonry. And I was like, well, I suppose I am, but
Right.
and but the other thing too, like bringing those topics up, like they were dismissed, like, and it wasn't like, oh no, we don't talk about this. Like, go ahead, look.
Right.
Like, but it's pretty awesome, man. Like,
Right.
obviously it's filled with, we're all fallible human beings.
Yeah, nothing's perfect, and I mean there is problems in Masonry.
There is, and also too, to that point, there's, this isn't something like the warts of Freemasonry. It's not something that has been like, oh no, we don't talk about that, or it's like we understand of where we're fallible.
Right.
Which is not common in society.
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about structuring an organization and a fraternity that is supposed to help men improve themselves is you have to be able to identify weaknesses and what can be done better, and you have to be problem solvers because part of the whole point is to improve yourself. And if you're not willing to recognize the faults in the system or the faults in your lodge or the faults in yourself, there's no way to correct it and improve, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're going to build a system that say, hey, we want to make this better, then you need to be open and honest and identify where the problem areas are, right?
Absolutely.
So, that's really interesting. I find to backtrack for a second, going on one of those journeys and really like exploring like all, and sitting down with like all the different holy books and stuff like that is something I've always wanted to do. And I actually, this is how it relates to your story. I turned 42 at the end of the month, and I just picked up a copy of the Bhagavad Gita the other day to start reading.
Absolutely.
So I'm about to start venturing down that path myself, just because I, like you, a seeker of knowledge, and when you look at a lot of these major organized religious systems, they do all have like a common theme and common elements to them. So I'm curious to start doing that, exploring myself. So we'll probably end up having a lot of conversations.
And I just recently picked up a book on the Vedas. So when you want to take a look at that will absolutely pair with the Bhagavad Gita very well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, I never really read. Like, my stepdaughter would come, she's my daughter. Jordan would come over, or anybody be like, you're reading a book that isn't a comic book or has pictures in it? It's like, yes, and I'm retaining it. Like, it's I don't want to sound like I'm fanboying for Freemasonry, but I suppose I am. I mean, and real quick to go back with my wife, with Nina, it wasn't a matter of convincing her.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we were watching, and I'll plug it because I've watched it a bunch of times, 33 and Beyond, which is like a semi-documentary on Freemasonry and on Prime.
Yeah.
And she was sleeping while I was watching it. And then at one point she woke up and she said to me, she goes, you know what? If this is indeed what this is all about, I have no problem with you doing it.
Right.
And I was like, yes.
Right.
Right. And I told her when you had said, hey, would you mind being on the podcast? I told her she was genuinely happy for me.
Sweet.
She's noticed a change in me in the very short time that I've been active here.
Yeah.
And so, like, my employer, like, it's really, I never joined the military, even though I wanted to. It's kind of like I needed structure that I didn't have, that I didn't get for whatever reason, but I'm getting it here now. And this is, outside of marrying my wife, this is the best decision I ever made in my life.
Right on.
And you brothers have been phenomenal. You're the hospitality, like the mature masculinity. right?
Yeah.
Because this isn't a construction site where it's like it is like where we're
Right.
bros,
Right.
but it's like it's real. It's like you get down to the real stuff.
Right. For as much shit talking as we do, we also have a lot of serious
Yes,
conversations.
absolutely.
Yep.
And it's where one can feel. I mean, you can feel free to be yourself and to be. It's it's okay to not be okay here.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it goes back to, and I know I've said it on the podcast a number of times, iron sharpens iron. And,
Yes.
one of my other things I've always said about Freemasonry is Freemasonry finds you when you're ready. Like it weirdly is like that. Like,
Yes.
it genuinely does work out that way. Like people might go looking for it, but it finds you when you're ready, and I think you do need to be at a certain point in your life where you are ready for it, and it sounds like you definitely were at that place when you decided to join, and we've always, in the interactions I've managed to have with you since I went to your fellow craft, or since you reached out because you were listening to the podcast and stuff. I've always appreciated your energy that you're bringing around, and like I love your enthusiasm for it. And please fanboy all you want about
I
Masonry.
sometimes feel like I'm too much. And it's like I need to subdue that passion, but then at the same, I guess maybe control it more or whatever. No, it's great. Like I walked, like when we first walked in this room, every time I walk in one of these lodges, it's like, I don't know, it's like a centering. It's like coming home. It's the weirdest feeling. And that's one thing, probably the biggest takeaway. Because I would have friends ask, or my wife ask, like, well, what it's about? What do you do? And it's like, I don't know. Because you're literally joining this this fraternity that you don't know anything really about until you go through it. Right. And there's a slew of stuff online. Some of it is
terrible.
A lot of it's terrible. Some of it's like, it's corruptedly true. It's just weird. You can't base it on that.
Right. Well, and you get like your general overview, you're meeting a bunch of good dudes, they're friendly, you get along with them, and, you hear we're active in our community.
Yeah,
we believe in self-improvement. We try to make our communities a better place. We're charitable. We're all this. And you hear all the good stuff, but until you really see how and why that good stuff is going to be implemented.
Yes.
You're going in blind. Yeah.
100%. And it's like, but I love it. What are you doing? I don't know, but I'm enjoying it.
Right.
I mean, I went to West Allis for a year, every meeting, and I was there for a half hour. In at 6, out at 6:30.
Yep.
Ate food, met people. Sometimes I left her like, oh my God, I was a complete idiot and I've ruined my chances, or like whatever, or.
Right.
Yeah, but they accepted me.
Right. Well, West Allis has got a good group of guys over there. So
I'm very, very grateful for the mentorship and just the brothers over there at that lodge, at Lake Lodge. Hayes as well. Been doing a little bit of traveling. Been to Prince Hall twice, actually.
Oh, right on. You've actually, as a really new Master Mason, you've done something I have yet to accomplish. I've wanted to go visit a Prince Hall Lodge for a while.
We will all go again. It was It was literally, I think my first time was a week after being raised here. We went there. I got invited along with some brothers from Hayes. Okay. And then Brother Jonas and I went, I think it was the end of November, because a friend of mine was part of, they had a quintuple Master Mason degree.
Cow.
And that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And to see him get raised, and we become good friends over the last year, and brothers. And it's just, obviously there's differences and there's similarities, and I know we're different jurisdictions, but that's something that I kind of feel like I want to be part of a bridge of, because there's so much that we can learn from one another.
Right. Well, in Wisconsin's fairly progressive compared to some jurisdictions on that front. Like, we can go visit, right?
Yes.
Yes. And that's most of the country now. If there is any holdout states anymore, it's like 2.
Gotcha.
4 at most. I can't remember the last count I saw. But, we have it set up where we would allow us to plural them and them to plural us, but they have to change their rules to allow
Yes.
that, because they don't allow any pluraling, at least in Wisconsin. Like, you join one lodge and you either transfer to another lodge or you stay at that lodge. You can't like be like here, where you can be a part of Lake and you can be a part of West Allis and you can be a part of Hayes, and like you can't do that under their constitution. So, you know, I would really like to see that relationship further too, to the point of being able to do that. I understand though, at this point, with how long both organizations have existed historically,
Yes.
like everybody's concerned about somehow that leading into like almost like a merger, which I don't see ever happening, because we both have our own cultures to maintain and our own histories to maintain, right? And nobody wants to step on
No,
those
no,
toes,
that
you
would
know?
be a dilution of, if that's the right word, but you would lose some. I think there's something too, because watching how they do that degree, and this
Right.
is my first time seeing it too, after experiencing it.
Right.
And then seeing the differences, and then, or even just like how some of our Dugars and signs are, like some of the differences in there too,
Yeah.
and the explanation, and the grand lecturer who was there that day had brought up of how ours, meaning our Blue Lodge, was different from Prince Hall as far as how me and Jonas were signing.
Right.
But not saying that like this is wrong or right. Like it's
Right.
just, it's different. And here's the reasons why. And then he would say as to why we do things the way we do.
Right.
And why. So it's just like that really speaks to me. And like what is becoming just so much more evident too is because I'm really, like when I came into this, like it was not so much for the social aspect and like for the learning and the yearning of the knowledge,
Right.
but then also understand that I need a community, because I'm a little more of an introverted person, believe it or not.
Okay, fair.
But then like that, the brotherhood is so important, because we're not these lone islands, right?
Right.
Like I need you, you know, other people need me. Like we need each other. We're interdependent is the word I'm looking for.
Right. Well, and if you look at it, like even from a knowledge perspective, how much knowledge do the brothers that surround you have that you might be able to learn about, right? You know, just with the variety of backgrounds, the variety of careers, the different interests when it comes to esoterics or, you know, stuff like that, or little niche things that people get into, like even just barbecue, right? Like, you know, some of that stuff that you'd be like, well, yeah, I could figure that out. But now I have 10 guys I know that know a lot about that topic.
Right,
that I
exactly.
can pick their brain about to help me get started on it, or whatever, right? You know, and, you know, that's the beautiful thing about being surrounded by a community of men, and like a diverse community of men, that where, you know, you could be sitting next to a doctor, or you could be sitting next to somebody like me that distributes Little Debbie snack cakes all day, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
And that's another aspect of all this that it's encouraging. It's like, if this could really take on worldwide and us as a species of people, like here we are, like we come into these lodges, and when it was told to me, you know, it doesn't matter what you do on the outside. When you're in this room, we are all in the same, like we're all the same. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
And then to actually see that happen, and then also to have like people of different faiths and belief systems, and to have that be a unifying thing.
Yep.
Where this is out in the world, I mean, we're killing each other over this.
Right.
Like there's so many, just so much hurt and just terrible things that we do to one another over this, that, I mean, we're able to coexist here. How come, like, that is, it's really
right.
it's really an awesome thing, you know, that
yeah.
one of the many awesome things that this
Right.
fraternity possesses.
I 100% agree. One of my favorite stories, and I'm going to say it's one of my favorite stories, and then I'm going to totally blank on which president it was. One of the presidents went to visit his lodge. One of the 14 presidents that have been Masons went to visit his lodge. And at the time, his gardener was sitting in the east.
That's
And
what's up, man.
he went and sat on the sideline, right? Like, President of the United States sat in a lodge where his gardener was worshipful master, right? And Secret Service wanted to come in with him, and he said to the Secret Service detail, "I'm safer in that room with those brothers without you guys than I am out here with you guys." Like,
That's powerful, man.
right. So, like, man, I'm going to have to Google which president it was now, because it's going to drive me nuts, because that is, in my opinion, a story that truly demonstrates what on the level means, right? You know, he could have came in and been like, no, I want to sit. He was president of the United States.
Right.
Like, he could have probably been like, no, I'm going to come sit in the East, you know? And he might have even been a past master of that lodge. But, like, what are you going to say to the president?
Correct.
Like, you know, but he went and sat on the sideline in lodge while his gardener ran the meeting. You know, like, that's truly impressive. And now I got to look up which president it was.
Eisenhower?
No.
Oh, that sounds like a Roosevelt thing to do.
That's who it was. I was thinking it was one of the Roosevelts. I just could never remember. But no, so obviously, you know, your journey through Masonry has been pretty fulfilling so far, I would say, from what you're telling me.
Oh, 100%. And I am just literally scratching the surface. Through this whole journey, I've kind of had it in my head where, okay, I'm going to plural at Lake because I grew up in this area. My grandparents lived off a plain field, and I was by this building all the time and didn't realize what it was.
Right.
And I want to plural at Hayes because that's where I've grown to know some brothers there. And then I want to go Scottish Rite. And then, like, so this is kind of I have this whole plan. And then I'm here getting raised and everything kind of goes out the window. So one of the biggest things that has really occurred to me about Masonry is it's a very experiential thing. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I wanted to shout from the rooftops about all the jewels that we have here, like, I don't know. You can't. It's like trying to explain to somebody the smell or taste of coffee that's never smelled or tasted it before.
Right.
And I was given my Bible. I got a little emotional that night when I got given my book, my sacred book of law. And I personally chose that particular one because I had so much resentment against it. And that's one of the other greatest things that has come from this is it doesn't matter what holy structure I go by. What used to be very like has now been like there's a lot of love there. It doesn't mosque, temple, church. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Like you see it in all of us and all of it.
Right.
It's dude, I nerd out on this stuff.
Right. So you almost felt like then. I just want to circle back to that for a second. So you almost felt like then that was your opportunity to dispel that like resentment.
Yeah. To kind of exactly. To get to make that right because it was interactions with hurt people that I had over the years is what shaded my view of these things.
Right.
It wasn't the essence of what these are.
Right. No, I totally get that. That's actually very poetic. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we probably will just circle back to something that got said already, but along those lines, what has your favorite experience been in Masonry so far?
All right. So it hasn't been one specific one, but what it has been is we get 3 study guides, essentially, right? It has been first looking at that red book and then being told to memorize all these words. When I can't remember when my wife tells me things to pick up from the grocery store. And I go, oh my God, I can't do this. Then all of a sudden, boom, you get it done. And I feel as though having the feeling of earning those books, going through that process, has probably been one of the greatest gifts because a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts to all this. Is I'm proving to myself that I am much more capable than I give myself credit for. And I think that happens to a lot of us.
Oh yeah.
The fact that I've been told, not only by myself, but everybody else, your memory, shit, it sucks. I
heard that too.
To then like going through, boom, like doing this. And I would tell Jonas this, I've earned this book. It's very important for me that I do, not perfectionist in the sense of where I need it because of an ego thing, but I've never put my all into anything, Matt.
Right.
Growing up. Like I half-assed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So like there was this, like I'm leaving it all on the table. I'm going to do this to the best of my ability at this given time.
Right on.
And then, go through the EA and then the FC and then the MM. And then I am good on the questions. I am confident in the opening and closing of the obligation, the furthers. I got some work to do on that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it.
That one takes a minute.
When that was happening that night, I thought to myself, oh, this is continuing to go. Like, oh my God.
Yep. Try conferring that one and not screwing it up.
My God, you guys.
I thankfully I was a little bit removed from having conferred one recently enough, and with everything I had going on with the move, I was just like, I don't have time to study right now. So I called an audible and, had worshipful brother Jeff do it, which was great. He does an excellent job at conferring degrees.
It was so good. And then to go back to with my having this whole plan of stuff is I have for the next year, I got installed as junior steward.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Right into the line.
Awesome. Yes.
Yep.
So
same thing I did.
I had a hard enough time trying to figure out how to do the signs without dropping the
rod.
The rod.
Yeah.
And then so it started to hit me. And then too, there's so much stuff that's really packed into those 3 booklets.
Yeah.
I will eventually go those routes, and I will eventually plural.
Right.
But I'm going to spend my first year in Blue Lodge in my home anywhere, but definitely home, and learn this and know this, and I don't want to. It's not to become it.
Right, but embody it.
Embody it. Thank you. Yes, because there's a lot there. Going through it, because at least for me, the degrees are your head spinning.
Oh yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I try to also get to as many. I now understand why when you guys were saying get to as many as you can to actually see be done.
Right.
Totally get that now.
Yeah, because it's a fire hose.
Exactly. And then also, too, I'm learning, okay, so I'll fill out the book. I answered all the questions, and they're all right. But it's it was very surface level. I'm going,
Right.
but there's so much stuff in just those 3 books
Right.
of the allegory and just the teachings
Well,
and
and
the
then-
embodiment of
Right.
it.
You can pick up Cloudy's little books
Man.
about each one of the degrees, and there's, I mean, Andrew and I could give you a reading list that
Please do.
my to be read list is so ridiculously long right now. And I have so many books on Freemasonry at my house that I have not cracked the cover of yet. I'm I really got to get back to, and I was tied up there for a few years where I wasn't really reading because I was always studying to learn a degree conferral or something like that. And now that I'm out of the East, I've gotten back to a little bit of reading, but I mean, I still have, we have an EA coming up at the end of the month, and then
Nice.
I'm conferring the MM at the Day of Light. So, I read one book right after I came out of the East, and now I'm studying again. So,
I know. Oh, that was the other thing too. I wanted to say was, so I got to do 2 interviews recently as well. We
Oh,
got
right
2
on.
petitioners, and being a part of that, and not really totally being guided through that, but just seeing that process too.
yeah.
And I think one of the candidates are gonna be going Day of Light, and one's gonna be going the traditional route. And I personally, I love both of them. I think it's situational for the person.
Right.
In my case, I am grateful as hell that my mentor did Day of Light, because if he didn't, I don't know who I would have had. And he
Right.
was somebody, Brother Jonas, who figured out how to translate the stuff that's coming out of my mouth, that when I talk to people a lot of times, they're like, I think you leave half the conversation in your head.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
So I know people have opinions, and that's great. That's cool. Everybody has their own opinion on that. But I absolutely, I'm glad that it's a thing.
Right.
And that it's for each person. For me, I needed to go the traditional route because I need the discipline.
Right.
It was a right path for me.
Right. No, and I hear you on that. I've always said that the Day of Light is it's necessary. I prefer traditional.
Right.
I think there's more to the experience, but the Day of Light's also necessary. I would rather have somebody go to the Day of Light and see 3 solid degrees than have their lodge not be able to put on a proper degree, or
Right.
have it take forever because they struggle to get the help to do a degree or something like that. I would hate to see a candidate not get all 3 of their degrees because their work schedule is crazy and they really needed to get it done in one day or whatever. There are justifications, there are reasons, but I think traditional is better.
To that point, that's kind of what we were hovering, because things were the way they were at my lodge, and I was thinking, well, the conversation came up that, well, if there's another Day of Light coming and there's something you might want to look at because we have X, Y, and Z going on, so this may
Right.
not happen this year.
Right.
And then, so I was leaning that way, and then I just happened to be talking to.
We all knew you, and we didn't feel like, after you put in all the work to post your EA and all the work to post your FC, we didn't feel like it would be right for you to go get your MM
And I
at
am
the day of
eternally
light.
grateful for you, brothers, because it was, oh my God, it was so amazing. The cake was great. That is I will never, like, I was very struck by the EA degree. It was very profound for me. The FC was very profound.
Right.
But the MM, not just because it's that, because I don't have a favorite degree, but just what was put on here and what the experience was, and then it's just the history of the building too. Like, I can't describe it. It made me cry at the end, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Right. Hey, no, you
know what I
shouldn't
mean?
be. I mean, it is a life-changing experience.
It absolutely is.
You know, it really kind of wakes you up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh crap. Like, I can do better, huh? So, no, that's awesome. How far have you ventured down the reading road as far as like Masonic books go?
So,
do you have a favorite one so far?
I right away in the beginning picked up Morals and Dogma.
Yeah, that's heavy.
And that's a heavy one.
Yeah, just put that one off to the side. Just Albert Pike basically wrote a stream of consciousnness.
That's that's what I'm beginning to understand.
I take that one on about one thing a year.
Okay. I think I made it past the first page and my brain was like, and I think I hadn't even posted my FC yet, or did my FC yet. So that to the side. Now I will say, and my plan is to start a book study at West Allis this year.
Oh, right on.
So you will definitely be getting an invite.
Sweet.
And this book that I am totally in love with right now is by W.L. Wilmshurst, The Meaning of Masonry.
Oh, yeah. Yep, read that one. It's been a while, but yeah, I read that one.
I found an audio version of it too, so I'm a painter by trade.
Okay.
And so I have the ability to throw the ear pod in and just listen.
Yep.
Because I'll send stuff to people like, dude, this is 5 hours. I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's a day of work for me.
Well, yeah, I've dabbled with audiobooks, but I'm more of a podcast while I work guy. But I work by myself. But lately, one of my coworkers has wanted to sit on the phone all day, so I'm a little behind.
So there's that one, and then I think it's Mystery of Modern Masonry. It's by Charles H. Vail, I believe.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is, if you don't mind, I'll send you. There's 2 pretty good audio readings of it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
That you can just kind of, even if it's an AI reading, it's pretty good.
That's the one thing. I don't have YouTube Premium. I like, as much as I want to start watching more stuff on YouTube, I have to have my phone screen unlocked and YouTube open. Otherwise, it.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yep.
And I'm like, doesn't count while I'm at work. That doesn't work because the app I use to write my orders and stuff, that's all on my phone, so I can't just like leave something open. You know?
Real quick before I forget. Sorry, this is where I get excited too.
Good.
Let's see, what do I have? So those 2 books that I really enjoy a lot that I've been pecking at for a while, and then Lost Keys of Freemasonry by Manly P. Hall.
Yeah, I got to read that one.
I'm a huge Manly P. Hall fan. I know certain people have their opinions of him, which is fine.
Well, and
I find a lot of value in stuff he writes about.
A lot of times people's opinions on him are based off of a book that he wrote before he was a Freemason, right?
Right.
So, hey, people can change their minds.
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
Is it Joseph Fort Campbell? I can't think of the name of his book right now. He's got a really good one too. I've gotten about halfway through, and I'll probably have to start from the beginning because it's been so long since I read that first half.
Gotcha.
But that one's pretty good. I'll have to send you a few when my brain's working and I look at my bookshelf and go, oh yeah, that's right, that one.
Please do, because I have a ton of books too that I haven't read.
Right.
That not just like not outside of Masonry, but just with all this, because it's all interconnected. But I remember a very wise brother once said, ABL, always be learning.
Right. Yes, for sure. And there's a lot of knowledge in those books, and it's good to digest. Just don't explode your brain in the process, right?
That's the balance.
You gotta take. Sometimes you gotta give yourself a break and take it in smaller doses. So. Yeah, there's a lot of books out there, though.
That's when I'll
read
jump on the computer and kill zombies for a while or something like that.
Right. Those cloudy books, though, that are about each degree, I highly recommend those.
I will definitely check that out. Thank you.
In fact, I might have PDF version of them that I could send you.
10-4.
So let's see. So we talked about books. We talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. There was something. Oh, right. So you just recently got installed as junior steward. So I know that's pretty early on, and you're fairly new. What are you thinking? Are you thinking you're going to try to run it all the way through the line?
100%.
Right on.
Yep, I'm
Right
going
on,
for
brother.
it.
Sweet.
What's that? That's 7 years?
Yeah. I mean, if you sit in every chair, it takes 7 years. So I skipped from junior steward to senior deacon.
Oh, you can do that.
Yeah. If the lodge needs, if there's like needs. So in our particular case, when I was sitting junior steward, the senior steward didn't ever want to be anything but a steward, so he wasn't moving up. And our junior deacon stepped out of line, so that meant if I was willing to, I went all the way up to senior deacon. But then I spent 2 years at senior deacon because of COVID, so that kind of gave me that second to go, that was moving a little fast, right? And then obviously did junior warden, senior warden, and worshipful. But no, it's a great experience, and I look forward to seeing you progress through those chairs and your knowledge increase. And the one piece of advice that I will give you that you've probably heard, because I know you listen to the podcast, 2 pieces of advice is always make sure you're doing your job. It's probably going to turn into 3 pieces of advice, honestly. Like if you have a good idea, don't be afraid to bring it to the lodge. Don't sit on it for 6 years till you get to the east and then be like, hey, so I had this idea 6 years ago and I think we should start doing it now. If you think it'll benefit your lodge, bring it up to the people that have the authority to, help you move forward with it, right? And taking every piece of advice you can get from everybody who sat in that chair before and start planning it now.
Okay.
Like, have it be one of those things that's always in the back of your head.
Okay.
Just kind of like, oh yeah, I got to file that away for, that might be something cool and a little bit different that can make my year unique, right? Or something like that. Or just generally going, well, I like the way that guy does stuff. Didn't like the way he did it so much, and just kind of getting an idea on how you're going to dial it in. And, ask when you get closer, ask past masters for advice. Like, what did you do in your year? What worked? What didn't? What's your one piece of advice to get me through?
Okay.
And tap into those knowledge bases that you have surrounding you. Right? That's why past masters exist.
It's definitely a closed mouth. What do they say? A closed mouth don't get fed. And it's definitely, if you ask, you will get an answer.
Right.
But people don't know what you need if you don't ask.
Right.
Exactly. So and that's something that I'm understanding and getting a handle. I was like, this stuff don't get spoon fed to you. It's not like some of it does. Like when
right.
you come, but if there's something you want to, like when they say, if you have questions, ask. Ask.
Right.
It's not lip service.
Right.
It's like whatever you need. If you need something, I was just on the way before coming here. I was listening to, I think it was the B episode you guys did.
The one that just came out today.
Yeah. Yep. And
we talked about a few different of the lesser discussed Masonic symbols in there,
which is a really good episode. You guys should check it out. But talking about that, I'm gonna butcher it now. But it was either you or Andrew talking about that. This is not lip service when if you need help with something.
Yeah, that's when we were saying, a lot of times when people say, if you need anything, when somebody's going through a tough spot, that, that's a lot of people are just doing it lip service. Like they're saying it because it's the right thing to say and they don't actually mean it. Whereas when I say that to another brother or anybody else, I legit mean it. And you can expect that out of your brothers. If you need anything, obviously within reason, and I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to drop whatever I'm doing at that exact moment for it. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. If I'm in the middle of work, I might not be able to. But if you need anything, I will do my damnedest to do it for you or find somebody else that can help get it done. Right. And that's what we do for each other. That's what brotherhood means. Right.
I've seen that take place. And again, very new. Baby Master Mason. But I've seen that play out. I've seen where there's been, we'll say, 2 brothers not having the same opinion on something in lodge,
right.
and it not turning into something that I am used to seeing, which is damn near fist fights happening, right?
Oh, jeez.
It's something that if you didn't know what was going on, you wouldn't have known that anything even happened.
Right.
Which is it's it's these examples that are not only talked about, but you see them lived out, like the living examples of what these brothers are saying, and that you can hang your hat on that.
Right.
It's a pretty amazing thing, and it losing my words for it, but I got a little jaded to stuff like that from just previous life experiences,
right.
And of my own. I take full responsibility for that,
Well, we all have stuff, and we all have stuff that influences who we are now, and it's gonna, skew our perspectives on
That's
certain
a good way
things.
to put it. Yes.
And then you need to see it the other way to bring that perspective back into balance, right? Like, I was, and I'm pretty open about this. I was pretty jaded after doing 6 years of security at a hospital that was pretty much servicing the inner city. I came out of that job fairly jaded because I got to see, some of the worst situations that people could be put in on a regular basis. And you just kind of walk out of it like having a very skewed perspective of humanity. And, that took a little bit to overcome, and, seeing the other side of things, seeing people, in regular situations and, acting the way they should be to kind of bring that perspective back. But
I love that. Yes.
It takes time, right? Our perspective on the world is based on our experiences.
Yep.
So, and those experiences hopefully bring it to a balance where you're like, okay, so it's not just that, but it's not just that either, and I wish it was all that.
But to your point on that though too, like, and we got the checkered floor here, like it's
duality.
Yeah. And both is true. It's not one or the other. It is both, which can really mind bend or make it seem like you're flippy floppy. But that's what reality is. It's where, and sometimes like the verbiage of we make good men better. I kind of toy with that a little bit because it's like, well, I'd ask myself, what constitutes a good man?
Right.
Right. Like, do I consider myself a good man or a bad man, or I've done this or that, or it's like, but yeah, that's the whole picture. I guess, to be fair, I've been both. I've been somebody that I wouldn't want in my house at one point, and I've also been somebody who I'd get praised for at work for being the way I am. Like, so it's this complete spectrum of humanness that we have, and it's what's really cool is there's certain things that I was okay with doing in my 20s that I can't even imagine doing now.
Right.
And I'll be quite frank here, like, I was surprised that my petition got accepted. Like, I'm not a felon, but there's enough, like, a lot of problems with drugs and that growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of charges in that, and with possession and things like that. And that's something too that not that I was doing that coming in here, but like other vices where I smoked since I was 13. I've been quit smoking for, I think, like 6 months now, and that's because of things going on in here that I'm learning here.
Right.
And there's aspects that I wouldn't think twice about doing pre-Masonry, or maybe it's just pre-growing up and getting my head out of my ass. That it's like, no, that's unacceptable. That is not. It's not that. But also in the same breath, though, I'm not going to judge somebody who's doing that, because I feel most of. I think we're born with the goodness and the spark in our heart, and then over time our experiences shape who we are, and then we become lost. Yeah. And then it's just we do what we got to do to survive or whatever.
Right. Everyone's fighting a battle you'll never know about.
Exactly.
Right? So, and what is the worst thing to ever happen to person A might seem like, oh, that's not all that bad to person B. But that is still the worst thing that ever happened to person A. And the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened.
Correct. And we are responsible for for our, I have to take personal responsibility for myself. There's definitely stuff for like child origin stuff, thinking about, this happened when I was young, and there's definitely there's value in that, but to stay stuck there, you just become the perpetual forever victim. And at some point we have to take personal responsibility for ourselves. And that is, I guess that's been one of the greatest gifts that Masonry has given me, is this has been proposing how to do that in a healthy way to, be responsible for myself and my actions.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah, and right, we all have those experiences, like, when we were younger, like, oh yeah, maybe that is why I do this now, right? But identifying it and then overcoming it,
yes,
is the important part. Just identifying it and be like, nope, I get to be a victim the rest
yes,
of my life
nope,
because
product
of
of my
it.
environment,
right? Like, yeah, right. Like nurture, not nature, right?
Yep.
And identifying it with the goal of overcoming it,
Correct,
is the ultimate goal, right? And it takes a lot of fortitude to be willing to overcome that, right? To identify it and then not just like live with it and go, nope, I get to just be this way because of X. I'm actually going to put in the work to be better than what that made me into, right? So awesome.
And that's a hell of a feeling, man, to look at yourself and be like, oh, 90% of the shit that you got going wrong in your life is because of you.
Right.
Right. To take that look at yourself and be like, I don't like this. And I am a big portion of where I'm at. But I guess the beautiful flip side of that is I'm also the key to get myself out of that hole.
Right.
With having guidance from other people, in this case, other brothers, or just other people who have that light to guide you to where you're trying to go.
Iron sharpens iron.
I love it.
Yep. All right, Lee, I think that's a great place to leave it.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your energy. Appreciate your support of the podcast and listening and everything else. And it was a joy to have you on, and we'll have to check back in and have you on again in a little bit once you get to dive a little bit deeper into everything.
It was my pleasure, and I look forward to coming back and visiting again, and pluraling at some point.
If you're not already, make sure you're following us on all of our socials. And if you would like to reach out to the podcast, please email us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com. You have a great day, everybody.